I'm actually doing this through Zoom today. And if you don't know, this is Karen from KISS WP Websites. That's Keep It Simple Sweetheart WordPress websites. Now, the reason I'm doing this through Zoom is because I actually want to share my screen with you. I'm going to be talking about Core Web Vitals. You may have heard about them before, you may not. Core Web Vitals is something that Google has been introducing over the last few months. And it's to make your user experience of websites better. So while some of this on the screen may be gobbledygook, there's a really good word, gobbledygook, absolute gibberish to you, it's actually really good news. If you've ever sat there waiting and waiting and waiting for a website to load, you're going to love this. If you get frustrated, as I do, when a website loads, but then I can't do anything on the screen, you're going to love this. If you go to, and I'm thinking particularly news websites here, you go to a news website and the content loads, as in the text loads really quickly. And then as you're trying to read it, images will come up there, or the content will move down here, an advert will come in, everything's shifting around, and it's really hard to focus. You're going to love Core Web Vitals. So I'm showing on the screen what Core Web Vitals are. Now, one of the things I need to point out, some of the other measurements when you're testing your website are per website. Core Web Vitals are per web page. So you may find that one page on your website will load really, really well with these measurements. Others maybe there's room for improvement. So there are three main things that they're looking at here. Largest contentful paint. That's so easy to get your head around, isn't it? Tongue around even. First input delay and cumulative layout shift. So largest contentful paint. What they're trying to say there is that every website, every web page rather, has different content on it. You're going to have your text, you're going to have images, you may have forms to fill in, you may have buttons to press. What largest contentful paint looks at is the largest element on that web page. How long does that take to load? So it may be that your text is the largest bit on that web page. Text loads pretty easily, as long as you've not got any weird fonts that you're connecting from somewhere else. That's normally pretty quick. If you have one of those big hero images at the top of your page, that may take longer to load. So that would be the time that this would be measuring, the largest contentful paint. And as you can see from the screen, quicker than 2.5 seconds is good. That's what they're looking for. First input delay is when the web page is there, but you can't actually do very much yet. For example, it could be something that's asking you to fill in for a newsletter or a contact form. I'm happily typing away in, giving them my details, saying, yep, I'll sign up for this. You go to try and click on the submit button, and it's not even working yet. It hasn't finished loading yet, to the point where I, as a user, can do anything. That's what first input delay is. Now, one of the issues that I've been reading up with first input delay can be that some of the testing is actually waiting for you to do something, and that's when they will measure that. So depending on how it's being measured and where it's being measured, that may vary a bit. The cumulative layout shift, I have to say, something really annoys me on websites. It's when the layout just keeps changing as they're adding in images. And it can even be so bad that I go to click on a link to read more for one thing, only to find out that I've clicked on something completely different because all the content has been shifting around. Annoys hell out of me. Now, the other two, largest contentful paint and first input delay, as you can see on the screen, they're actually time measurements. Cumulative layout shift isn't a time measurement, it's a stability, it's how much things are moving around. Now, the good thing with this, apart from it's going to make your user experience on web pages better, is that they've also given you ways to actually measure this. So I'm going to click over to another tab now. This is Page Speed Insights from Google. And what you can do is you can type in a web page here. I'm using WordPress. Click on Analyze, and this will actually analyze that web page. Notice this is per page, not per site, that web page for you. When it actually comes back with the results, it's going to give you two sets of results. One is for the mobile, the other is for the desktop. So here we can see that the mobile version, and you can tell it's mobile because of up here it's telling us it's mobile, is 73. It's measured the first input delay. Now, where there's a blue tag here, that means that this is the core measurements that they're looking at the moment. First input delay was 22 milliseconds. Largest contentful paint, 2.2 seconds. Cumulative layout shift, 0.01. So all of these are really good. The first contentful paint, which isn't part of the core Web Vitals analysis, leaves a little bit to be desired. If we go back on here and click on desktop there, that's another tab. Wow, 93, very good score. We can see how on the mobile, it's an amber score. On the desktop, it's a green score. You need to make sure that your mobile version is working really well. So here it tells us how well things are working. If you keep scrolling down, it will give you more data. It'll give you ideas that you can use to improve. But this is per web page. So if we go onto another page on the same website, I've gone onto their plugins page now, and I'm going to check how well that web page works. Now, it will be just like the other one. It will have the mobile and the desktop version. It's just I wanted to show you that per page can be very different. So the main domain of WordPress.org, when we look at that on the mobile, it's 73. On the plugins page on the same website, it's 85. And if we look at the desktop here is 97. And once again, if you click on those tabs, they're not obviously tabs. I like to have something that makes it very obvious it's a tab and that it's clickable. We can go down here, and once again, it tells us what the actual readings were and what you can do to improve things. So it's saying here which didn't work well, what did work well. Obviously, if you've got a very small website, say you've only got a 5-page website, you can type in every single page that you have and test it manually. That's not a problem if you've only got like 4 pages. If you have a blog on your website, every single blog post is a page in its own right with WordPress. So that means you would have to test every single one of them to check if you wanted to do that. So another way of doing it is going into the Google Search Console and looking at that. Now, I would love to show you some live Google Web Consoles, but unfortunately, the websites that I've got set up in that at the moment are saying not enough data. So I'm taking you to Yoast now and showing you what that would look like in Google Search Console. Sorry, lost the word there, Google Search Console. So you can go there, it will show you what the URLs are, you can open reports, and that will drill down as well. The other thing you can do is if you use the Chrome browser, there are extensions there that you can load onto your Chrome browser, and that will actually tell you what the speeds are on for that particular web page that you're on. So that's about Core Web Vitals. Now, the other way, if you don't want to do all this yourself, I will be launching an audit report. I'm testing it with a few clients at the moment. And if you want to be a tester, let me know. Testing it with a few clients at the moment. That will include Core Web Vitals, and it will include the recommendations of what you can do to speed up your website. And these can be recommendations, general recommendations that you can do to speed up your website, because you don't want a slow website. Studies have shown that the longer a website takes to load, and just stop sharing that, the longer a website takes to load, the more likely it is that somebody's going to go elsewhere. And I know that from my own experience. If one website is taking way too long to load and I know I can get that product elsewhere, unless I've got an attachment to that business, I'm going to go and look elsewhere. We're time poor at the moment. We don't want to waste our time with a website that's loading slowly. Now, there are different things to look at depending on the issues with your website. And that's probably for another day. This is just to give you an overall summary of what Core Web Vitals are, because you may be hearing more about them. They will improve your experiences on web pages. So that's a good thing. If you're not sure what they are, if you need some help, like I said, my audit report will be launching very soon. I'm just testing it at the moment. Want to make sure that everything's on there with really good explanations. As you know, I'm Keep It Simple Sweetheart. That's what KISS stands for. It's all about making everything accessible to you. So it's not in geek, it's in English. That's what I'm doing with the audit report. If you're interested, drop me a note below. If you have any questions, I've set up an email account, askKissWPwebsites.com.au. I'll drop it in a link below. And you can ask me questions through that. And I will answer through a monthly webinar that I'm going to be doing on the third Thursday of the month, around the same time, 12:30 South Australian time. And I'll be going through some website maintenance tips for WordPress, obviously. And also there'll be a Q&A session. So if people start asking questions, I'll try and fit in a small Q&A session there and answer questions live. But I'd like them submitted first, just so that I have some backup there rather than do it live. But if we can do it live, we can do that as well. This is Karen from KISS WP Websites. That was about Core Web Vitals and the measurements that you need to have, how to measure them using Page Speed Insights, Chrome extension, your Google Search Console, or even coming to us and asking for an audit report. If you have any questions, let me know. Until next time, take care.